Good afternoon, and what a fine day it is to celebrate an inauguration. I am delighted to offer greetings and a charge to our new president, and I only wish that we could all be sitting together in the chapel of the unnamed faithful. We have ceased responding for a few moments to all other demands in order to participate in this ritual that ceremonially formalizes the engagement of our new president, Reverend Dr. Javier A. Viera. And President Viera, you know you are the sixth president of Garrett Evangelical, but also that you stand on the long history of our founding institutions, beginning in 1853 and extending now into our 168th year. It seems almost impossible for me to be in the line of those still living who have served this office of president. Jim Stein, the last president of Evangelical Theological Seminary and our first academic dean of Garrett Evangelical, Neil Fisher, who hired me in the first place on a 3-year contract in 1986, Ted Campbell, our historian, guitar playing and singing president, no pressure, President Viera, and Phil Amerson, who helped us tiptoe into distance learning against great resistance at the time and who invited me to serve as the academic dean. And now, President Viera, to you, my successor. Many things have happened in the intervening years since our founding in 1853, and yet we find ourselves in another pivotal moment. Perhaps our historian president will tell us that all moments feel historically pivotal when they are yours. Nonetheless, our history unto this historic moment of your appointment, President Viera, expresses Garrett Evangelical's commitment to keep on becoming, in practice and embodiment, God's beloved community. The school lives through the failures and the successes of our efforts, and it enjoys some of the fruit of our labor over the years, as president after president has taken up the mantle of leadership. We have each tried our best to help form yet another compelling response to our then contemporary landscape, a response to the church's needs, our societal and world challenges, and most importantly, at the root of it all, the formation of bold spiritual leaders who can preach the prophetic good news word of the gospel, who can bring comfort in the trenches of human suffering and in spiritual deserts, and who can address the then contemporary needs, opportunities, and threats that the world faces. President Viera, you have inherited so much to steward forward. I treasured the collegial hours of fellowship you and I shared as we sat among other CEOs of our 13 United Methodist schools and our higher education colleagues at GBHEM. We were all studying how best to be faithful stewards of the institutions we were leading. You are a seasoned leader who has come to us knowing that the path ahead is a sobering one, and at the same time that we are also in a moment of great opportunity and creativity. Now, I've been told that I should feel free to reference my own service. There are only 2 things I really want to say to you today, President Viera. The first and longer one is this. Under my term, we tried to build on the excellent historic and continuing work of the Garrett Evangelical Black Seminarians, the Center for the Church and Black Experience, the Hispanic Center, the Sacred Worth Group, and the Asian American Ministry Center. I believe it is fair to say that we did make some significant progress in supporting greater racial, ethnic diversity and related concerns. The effect of this can be seen in the changing embodiments of our student population and in our faculty membership. It can be seen in the continued transformation and growth of the Hispanic Latinx Center in its Paulo Freire lecture series, the Center for Asian American Ministry and its support of Pan-Autumn conferences, the formal Board of Trustees' affirmation of the welcome and inclusion of LGBTQIA queer members of our community, the introduction of queerientation by Dean Luis Rivera, and the support of additional informal groups spinning out of Sacred Worth. Yes, I can list these things that I think we accomplished, but I now see that we did the easier part and only set a stage for the heavier lifting task that you now inherit. As you have already recognized, the matters of equity, diversity, and inclusion remain as does the ongoing impact of our shameful racial history in this country. Add to that, number one, predominantly white membership in the U.S. United Methodist Church, and number two, the challenges to dismantle the dominance of white normativity in our operations and perhaps even in our organizational structures. You do face a task that is indeed sobering. Turning this corner in such a time as this, I believe, will have a significant trickle-over effect into all the other realms of concern for which you have oversight responsibility. I not only say to you, President Viera, and I don't say it lightly, but I charge you to seek wisdom, to ground yourself in a spiritually centered place, and then to take thou authority and to be courageous. We will support you in these things and in the other realms in which you lead. Take the slings and arrows of misunderstanding that will come to you and threaten your morale, but do not relent. The school depends upon you to continue pushing us toward a greater realization of God's beloved community. Do not relent, for you have a great cloud of living witnesses surrounding you. With the Garrett family writ large, including 4,500 living alumni, you will have so much support to call upon. To echo the old Nike commercial retort, and it is so easy for me, who did not accomplish this, to ask you to just do it. The second thing, and finally, it is my deepest desire for you, Javier, if I may, whatever happens on a day-to-day basis, that overall, when it is your turn to give your immediate successor a charge, you will finally have counted your service to Garrett Evangelical as a deep joy. And yes, I mean joy in the complex, biblically grounded sense of the term. I do pray for you to have that deep joy. I think it will help sustain you through the end of your leadership in this role at Garrett Evangelical, and that completion should be many, many years into the future. May God's presence be real to you each day, and may God's richest blessings fall upon you and your family. Thank you for saying yes to the invitation to be our new president.